Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and video. We're gonna be talking about all the books that I read in the month of June and also some of the books that I want to read in the month of July. I'm combining these two videos because I didn't read that many books in the month of June, so I do want to fill up some space, and also it's too late that if I to post them separate it would just kind of take me almost to the middle of July, so we're gonna do that. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Karen and I do a lot of books, fashion, and lifestyle content. If any of that is of interest to you, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We are on our road to 1,000 subscribers and we're on track, so make sure to contribute and hit the subscribe button. So we're gonna start talking about the books that I did read this month. I only read 5 books in the month of June, and I know it sounds like a lot for some of you if you don't read a lot, but if you were to watch other booktubers wrap-ups, this kind of makes me feel like crap because it was probably one of my smallest reading months. And yeah, so I read 2 on my Kindle, who is dead right now, and then 3 physical books. With the physical books that I read this month, so I finally got around to reading Anna and the French Kiss, and this book was a cute little YA romance. She goes to France to a boarding school, meets a guy. There is a trope that I'm not really a huge fan of. Wasn't a huge fan of the main character either, or the love interest. So not my best read this month. I still think I gave it kind of a high rating. Let's look at my Goodreads and see what rating I actually gave it. So I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars, mainly because it was fast-paced read for me. I would, but it wasn't one of my best reads this month, so yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. Of course, a Colleen Hoover book. I had to read a Coho book this month. I always read a Colleen Hoover book pretty much every month. This one is All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. This is a marriage story, so they do go back and forth between how they met and then the struggles they're going through in their current marriage. Spoiler / trigger alert, they do deal with a lot of infertility in this book, so if that's a trigger for you, maybe don't read it. I am getting a little tired of how Colleen Hoover always has to have this really dramatic stuff happen to the main character, how her books are just filled with pain. I still enjoy her books, but if you ever just want a happy read, just don't read her books because it won't give you that like butterfly situation where you actually fall in love with the characters and it's just a drama-free trip. Everything is just very traumatic, especially in this book. And yeah, it wasn't my favorite Colleen Hoover book. You know what my favorite Colleen Hoover books are. Maybe we'll do a video where I rate all of her books because I have read quite a bit. This is about Quinn, and I forgot the guy's name, but anyways, pretty much a marriage story. And then I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars because Colleen Hoover books are usually anything higher than a 3-star for me, but this one, it was a fast read. I did really like it, but it was too much. Like, I had to take breaks from it because it was too heavy. Last physical book that I read this month was In 5 Years by Rebecca Sorrell. I think I gave a really low rating to this book, could be wrong. So this is about a woman in her 30s. She's a perfectionist. She has her 5-year plan, everything planned out really well, but then she has a dream. She kind of travels 5 years into the future type of thing, and she gets really paranoid about that, and then she meets a character in her dream and they're all really connected, and something also kind of dramatic happens. A lot of trigger points in this book as well. It's not your typical romance book. I'll just say that without spoiling the book for you. I read 2 more books on Kindle. So one of the books that I read was The Selection, book number 1. I really like this book. It was super fast. It is a really immature YA book, and it is kind of like set in a dystopian world, so it's a little bit different. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. It's kind of, I think the best way to explain this book is kind of, besides the dystopian factor of it, which it's kind of weird how they divide them by classes and like numbers. This book is kind of like a olden day Bachelor, where the prince gets to pretty much like pick out of like 30 women to like marry one of them and make her princess, and they go to the palace and they have all these activities and stuff. It's kind of like The Bachelor, honestly. Also keep in mind, I always forget the names of the characters of the books, that's why I'm not mentioning them. The last book that I read this month was The Fine Print, which is Dreamland Billionaires book number 1. I actually read these books in the wrong order. I read book number 2 first and then read book number 1. I'm kind of glad I did that because book number 1 was a huge disappointment. I did not like Rowan, who is the main character, one of the Dreamland Billionaire brothers. I didn't like the love interest. I didn't like their story. It was also unnecessarily graphic at some point, and keep in mind I don't really mind that much smut in books, but I feel like they're really trying super hard in this book to include that. I just didn't like that. I gave this book a 2 out of 5 star, and if you are a Fine Print fan, I'm sorry, I really didn't like that book. It was just not for me. Now let's get into some books that I want to read this month. I'm gonna try to go through this kind of fast because I already took some time talking about the books that I did read last month. And yeah, so let's start with a book that has been on my TBR forever. That is The Summer Broken Rules by K.L. Walter. I'm already on page 192 actually. I'm not enjoying this book as much. I think it has been majorly overhyped. I do think it's a cute YA romance, but the book has this game called the Assassin Game, and if you don't like that game, then you're probably not gonna enjoy the book. So far I'm not really enjoying the whole game trope, so I'm not enjoying this very much. But since I'm already on page 100, I'm probably just gonna keep pushing, try to finish it this month. This is about Meredith. She goes to this like coastal Martha's Vineyard town with her family for a wedding, and then she meets this guy who is the brother of her brother-in-law, and they kind of have a love situation going on. I haven't gotten too much into that, but like I said, most of the book is about that assassin game, which is like a water game, and something traumatic happened to her, and there is some grief going on in this book, but it's not the main plot of the book. Then I finally caved in and bought Funny You Should Ask by Elissa Sussman. I'm already reading it. I'm like on page 20. Started it last night. This book is super cute. Well, I don't know why my camera is not focusing. There we go. This book's super cute. I'm obsessed with the cover. It's a really nice aesthetic. I'm actually thinking of taking a picture with this one because the aesthetic is just everything. This is kind of like a fan fiction situation. I don't really know how to explain this. It is about this journalist. She did an interview on this famous actor like 10 years ago, and her career kind of took off from there. And then 10 years later he requests her again for another interview because that last interview also really helped his career. He was gonna star in the new James Bond movie and was getting a lot of backlash by the media. That's pretty much what it was about. That's pretty much what this book is about. I think there's a little bit of a romance situation. I don't know if it's a full romance book. I'm not deep to it enough that I know exactly what the book's gonna be about, and I have been trying not to spoil things for me, so I haven't read the back of the book. So that's what I think the book is about. If you want to know more research before you read it, just look up Funny You Should Ask. Also reading, keep in mind I'm a mood reader, so yes, I have started like a ton of books at the same time. I'm reading Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. This might be my only Colleen Hoover book this month because I do need a break from her books after I'm done with this one. This is about a 22-year-old girl named Sydney. She's enjoying a great life, but her boyfriend cheats on her, and she meets this guy who happens to be the next door neighbor, and they like music and they have that in common. And that's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to spoil it for you guys. So far, not enjoying it very much, I will say that. So we shall see if this is just gonna put a pause on my Colleen Hoover situation, because getting kind of tired of the books because of the whole traumatic situation. So we might be taking a break from Colleen Hoover after I'm done with this one. This book is called The True Love Bookshop. This was sent to me by the publisher, so we will be reading this one. And this one is about Tess Lane. She owns a lakeside bookstore, but it's a weekly book club she hosts for the women in town that Tess enjoys the most. The gatherings have been her life over the past 3 years since her husband's mysterious death. Tess has tried to move on, but when River Harrison shows up at her doorsteps, or her lingering questions come rushing back. So that's all I'm gonna read about it. I think I'm gonna enjoy this book. It might be a little bit of my comfort zone. It might be a little bit for an older audience. I have no idea, but thank you to the publisher for sending this over to me. And I'm also already reading Malibu Racing. I do finish this month. you should know by now what Malibu Racing is about. I'm not going to go into detail. Look it up. It's a very popular book by Jenkins Reid, which is one of my favorite authors. She wrote These Jones and the Sex, and that is my favorite book of all time. And very excited about this one. I'm actually very excited to read another Sally Rooney book. So we will be reading Beautiful World, Where Are You? I read the description to this book in my book shopping video, but real quick, this is pretty much about 3 different people. They're kind of intertwined. They're young, but life's catching up to them. They desire each other, they delude each other, they get together, they break apart, they have sex, they worry about sex, they worry about their friendship and the world they live in. And they're standing in the last lighted room before the darkness, being witness to something, but they find a way to believe in a beautiful world. I don't know what this book is gonna be about. I just know that Sally Rooney does really well in getting to connect to all of the characters in her books. And yeah, I'm really excited about this one, and also love the aesthetic. The only thing that pisses me off is this short front cover, but we're gonna get over that. And the last book that I want to read this month is another book theme book. So I don't know if I want to read it this month because there's too many of those already in my TBR. And you guys know that I'm a reader, so I'm probably not gonna follow a really strict TBR, but this is The Messy Lives of Book People. This is kind of giving me Verity vibes. So pretty much this author moves. She always wanted to be an author, then she ends up moving into the house of a best-selling author that she really likes, and she lands a housekeeping job in that house, and I think something happens to the author and she kind of passes her legacy to her, and she wants her to finish her last novel. So like I said, Verity vibes. Very excited about this one. It is kind of a short read, so we shall see if I actually read it. And this is by Padra Patrick. This is all I have for you guys today. Sorry that I combined these 2 videos. I just wanted to get this up today, so we're gonna be getting editing after I'm done filming this. And yeah, just let me know what books you're currently reading. I always love to know. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye guys.